Welcome to episode 13 of Michael Reads from a Book, a series in which I read from a series of books. Today's selection is from Camus. Get that nice and close there. The Plague. We'll be reading right from the beginning with part 1. The unusual events described in this chronicle occurred in 1904 at Oran. Everyone agreed that, considering their somewhat extraordinary character, they were out of place there. For ordinariness is what strikes one first about the town of Oran, which is merely a large French port on the Algerian coast, headquarters of the prefect of a French department. The town itself, let us admit, is ugly. It has a smug, placid air, and you need time to discover what it is that makes it different from so many business centers in other parts of the world. How to conjure up a picture, for instance, the town without pigeons, without any trees or gardens, where you never hear the beat of wings or the rustles of leaves. A thoroughly negative place, in short. The seasons are discriminated only in the sky. All that tells you of spring's coming is the feel of the air, or the baskets of flowers brought in from the suburbs by peddlers. It's a spring cried in the marketplaces. During the summer, the sun bakes the houses bone dry, sprinkles our walls with grayish dust, and you have no option but to survive those days of fire indoors, behind closed shutters. In autumn, on the other hand, we have deluges of mud. Only winter brings really pleasant weather. Perhaps the easiest way of making a town's acquaintance is to ascertain how the people in it work, how they love, and how they die. In our little town, is this, one wonders, an effect of the climate? All three are done on much the same lines, with the same feverish yet casual air. The truth is that everyone is bored, and devotes himself to cultivating habits. Our citizens work hard, but solely with the object of getting rich. Their chief interest is in commerce, and their chief aim in life, as they call it, doing business. Naturally, they don't eschew such simple pleasures as love-making, sea-bathing, going to the pictures, but very sensibly they reserve these pastimes for Saturday afternoons and Sundays, and employ the rest of the week in making money, as much as possible. In the evening, on leaving the office, they foregather, at an hour that never varies, in the cafes, stroll the same boulevard, or take the air on their balconies. The passions of the younger are violent and short-lived. The vices of older men seldom range beyond an addiction to bowling, to banquets and socials, or clubs where large sums of change hands on the fall of a car. Not hang hands. Well, there you go. Change hands, that makes sense. Moving on. It will be said, no doubt, that these habits are not peculiar to our town. Really, all our contemporaries are much the same. Certainly nothing is commoner nowadays than to see people working from morn till night, and then proceeding to fritter away at card tables, in cafes, and in small talk what time is left for living. Nevertheless, there still exist towns and countries where people have now and then an inkling of something different. In general, it doesn't change their lives. Still, they have an intimation, and that's so much to the good. Oran, however, seems to be a town without intimations. In other words, completely modern. Hence, I see no need to dwell on the manner of loving in our town. The men and women consume one another rapidly in what is called the act of love, or settle down to a mild habit of conjugality. We seldom find a mean between these extremes. That, too, is not exceptional. At Oran, as elsewhere, for lack of time and thinking, people have to love one another without knowing much about it. What is more exceptional in our town is the difficulty one may experience in dying now. Difficulty, perhaps, is not the right word. Discomfort would be nearer. Being ill is never agreeable, but there are towns that stand by you, so to speak, when you are sick, in which you can, after a fashion, let yourself go. An invalid needs small attentions. He likes to have something to rely on, and that's natural enough. But at Oran, the violent extremes of temperature, the exigencies of business, the uninspiring surroundings, the sudden nightfalls, and the very nature of its pleasures call for good health. An invalid feels very out of it there. Think what it must be for a dying man, trapped behind hundreds of walls, all sizzling heat, while the whole population, sitting in cafes or hanging on the telephones, is discussing shipments, bills of lading, discounts. It will be obvious with what discomfort attends death, even modern death, when it waylays you in such conditions in a dry place. I really like this book. I keep wondering why I never got around to finishing it. I guess a few hundred pages of this place is really depressing. It gets kind of depressing. Anyway, that concludes another edition of Michael Reads from a Book. I'll see you next time.